What's going on, guys? My name is Todd. Welcome to No Show Drift. On this episode, well, it's a bit of an odd episode because I did a lot of this work off camera. I actually filmed an intro to do the work that we're about to do, and then just didn't film. Got carried away with doing whatever it was I was doing. What we did is the rear subframe, a lot of work to the rear subframe, which involved a GKTech reinforcement plate kit, solid subframe bushes, as well as solid diff bushes, and I welded the diff. At the point of now, I've just put the subframe back in the car. So we'll go check out what I did, and then the rest of the episode we'll be doing a couple other things. Stick around. Alright, as you can see, I have painted it as well. This extremely bright orange colour, which looks pretty good. Caitlin actually picked this colour out for it, so I might end up doing kind of anything I work on underneath the car, I'll paint this colour. But yeah, as you can see, well, maybe not as you can see, but subframe, these plates here, you can kind of see these welds here. You can see the kind of plate on the side, weld here, welds up there. That's part of the reinforcement kit. That's the two of the bigger plates that kind of go across the face of it. Underneath, here you can see a plate here. That's part of this one here. Here as well. On one of the arms, up here. And then if you can see through here, there's a plate in there as well. So yeah, they were the parts I welded in. They're the weaker parts of the subframes and these Skylines and Sylvias. Some other stuff we did to it were these, which are the GKTech solid subframe bushes. Not only do they replace the factory rubber bush, they make it solid, and they actually raise this whole subframe 15mm higher, which corrects geometry. So when you lower the car with the stock ones, these arms probably sit like that. When you lower them, yeah, they go up like that. So if you have these arms pushing up too much, it can cause issues with the geometry. So what it does is, instead of having the car sit higher with a flat thing, you actually raise the subframe up, and it corrects these a little bit, and it corrects the CV angle and stuff. Oh. Beautiful demonstration done. So that's what we put those in, as well as these diff bushes. They just look black, but they're a solid GKTech diff bush. Two in the back here. Two in the front here. This one and there. You can see the front subframe bushes there and there. So yeah, that's the major works we did. Oh, we also welded the diff. We doing skids out here. I wasn't going to pay for a two-way. I just, welded diff will do me. Right now we're at the point we just need to kind of do up the rest of the suspension, and then get the wheels on and the coilovers back on. I'll have a talk about the coilovers in just a second. I don't know if I talked about this in a previous episode, but I got BC Golds for this thing, wound them all the way down, and it sat still, I don't know, it was low obviously, but it just wasn't as low as what I wanted it. Dirt nasty low. Okay, so what was happening was, this here, which is the base height adjust for the coilovers, you adjust them up and down on here, adjust the height, and then you lock it off with that lock ring just above it. So it goes onto this thread, winds on, it takes two hands, but anyway, it winds onto there, and it was getting to here, roughly, and it would just stop. And there was heaps of room at the top, and I worked out, and there was heaps of room in the bottom of this tube still. As you can see how this tube's sitting way lower than that thread, so there's heaps of room down there. And I was like, what's going on? Why isn't it winding up anymore? Why can't I go lower? Now I looked up, wow! Shit. I looked on the inside of them, and if you can see there's a shiny part, it's very hard to see. There you go. Oh, there we go. You can see where it goes from black there, then to shiny. Now, what it was is where that shiny bit is, there actually used to be a lip. And the coiler and the shock body, that part there would just hit on that lip and it couldn't go any lower. Now, I look, I'm not going to be one to be like, oh man, stuff BC, why would they do that? They obviously had a reason behind it to do with strength, or not wanting the coilovers to go too low, or the geometry throwing out too much in a car if you went lower. Man, I don't care. Whatever. So I got my boy Shaney, who does a lot of CNC machining to machine the inside of this tube. As you can see, that line there is where the lip was on the inside. He machined this tube for me and got rid of that lip so I can wind it past there. Now that gives me another 50mm of adjustment to go lower, which I tested out, and it's well tucking the rim. So today's kind of exciting because we'll be putting all this back together, and I'll be able to actually lower the back down to what I want it to be. Now, the front has exactly the same issue, where there's a little lip on the inside of the lower adjusting tube where you can't go any lower. But as you can kind of see from here, we don't really want to go that much lower in the front, because obviously we're going to have a bit of lock, and we don't want it to be the wheel to be fouling too much on the guard. It's okay to hit a little bit, but I just don't want it to be tucking. So we don't really need to go down much lower in the front. Once we put a bit more track and camber on it, it actually will lower naturally when the wheel leans in, and it will get a bit lower. But today, we'll be low in the rear, put it on the ground, seeing how it looks. Exciting. Makes me feel good. Yeah, so right now, we'll start getting these coilovers back in. I'll tighten some of the suspension arms up and stuff, and we'll go from there. We need to just tighten up these suspension arms. One thing I will show you is these guys here. Here is the rear brake caliper that, you know, traditionally sits on the disc, as a lot of people would know about Skylines and Silvias. Get off! Give me a second. I was able to pull the disc off. As you can see, handbrake cable. They run a drum handbrake cable. Here's a little assembly here. I've taken it all out because I wanted to pull this out. I'm not going to put that back together today. I'm going to put it back together without a handbrake, just because I'll probably end up getting some Project Mu handbrake pads for it. They're the only ones you can get as a replacement. There's no factory replacement, and they're like $380. But apparently they have a lot of bite to them, and they're very good for drifting. They're designed for drifting. So I'll be purchasing those. For now, we'll be putting it back together with no handbrake. Alright, so I got my coilover in. I've put some oil in my diff. I realized that I hadn't put any in yet. Coilover's in. All the control arm bolts are still loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack up off the bottom of the disc here, just to get the weight of the car on the coilover and kind of set it at its rough ride height for when I do the bolts up. Now, people don't usually do these with stock bushes like I've got here. Like I've got all stock arms here. It's going to change soon, but for now, stock arms, people don't usually do that. They usually do it with like poly bushes and stuff like that, because if you've got the suspension sag down, you tighten it up and then push up, it can twist the bush and it can cause damage. But I'm just going to do it here anyway. It's good practice to just get in the habit of it. So put the jack underneath here, lift it up, do up all our bolts. Alright, pull the disc off because it just kept rolling, but I had to use the block of wood here against the studs, lifted it up. That's kind of sitting at where it will, like with the weight of the car on it. I'll just have a chat about the arms. So back here we've got a tow arm. This one here is the camber arm, traction arm, and then the lower arm. Now, I'm not sure when I will, but I would definitely be getting adjustable camber and tow arms. Whether that's before my first, you know, track day or not, I don't know. So I'm just going to put it all back together now as if I'm just going to use the stock ones. They've got little elongated holes on the subframe side that help adjust it. But yeah, we'll just do these bolts up, and then we'll get to the other side and do the same thing. Right, I've done up all the bolts from the subframe and the knuckles and stuff like that. You can adjust the camber and the toe on these, and I've kind of just neutralized them, pushed the camber all the way out, and I've just kind of gone in the middle with the toe. It won't be adjusted properly like that, but I'm just doing it. Giving the guards a bit of a roll because of how low this thing's going to sit now. By a roll, I mean bash with a big hammer. Riley's here now. Hey, Riley.
Hello.
He's just hanging out, doing his thing. Yeah, so time to put it on the ground, put the wheels on, and we'll get on the ground and see how it sits. Extremely happy with how it sits. If you look, it's just not tucking rim, so it's got like a little bit of a reverse rake towards the back of it. We were worried about the camber arm, Riley?
Yeah,
the camber arm was really close to the chassis, and I think people have to clearance them, but I've like jumped on the back of this thing and it's not banging at all, so very happy. So the rear's pretty much done. I just got to sort out the handbrake pads, and we're set, really, with the back, and maybe adjustable arms, like I said, but that's a big maybe. Righto, well, that's it for this episode. Happy with subframe, happy with the coilovers and how low it sits and stuff, so that's sick. Next episode, probably looking at doing the front, so we need to do extending long arms, adjustable upper arms. So, yeah, stick around and check that one out. Bye.